Peace and grace to your soul. Beloved child of God, it must have been late May or early June of 2020. Strange season, the world was between things, between silence and sound, between fear and understanding. That's when it happened. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't trying to be anyone. I just happened to find a post, a small post on a Gnostic message board. It didn't look like much, but it turned out to be everything. This is how the divine speaks, not always in visions, not always in thunder or light, but sometimes in small questions asked by strangers on forgotten corners of the internet. That post would change the course of my life. You don't notice these things right away. When eternity knocks, it knocks quietly, and the world goes on turning. But the shape of you has changed. You just haven't caught up yet. I wasn't even supposed to be there. It wasn't my place. I didn't know the texts. I didn't speak the language. I didn't belong there. Not really, but I answered questions anyway. People liked my answers, even when I didn't know why. Even when I barely understood what I was saying, it felt like something was speaking through me, not taking over, just nudging, whispering, reminding. So I kept coming back, not because I had something to teach, but because something wanted to be heard. That's when I saw the image. A figure with a bird's head and feet made of snakes. Abraxas. I didn't know the name at the time, but I couldn't stop looking. There was something alive in it. It looked back. Not literally, not with eyes, but with something deeper, presence, recognition. You know this feeling. The sense that something ancient is watching you, not judging, not hostile, just aware. It sees you. Not the you pretend to be, but the one who has always been. Something about that image was speaking, not in words, in something older than language. And all I could do was listen. Sometime after that, someone made a post about Janus, the Roman god with two faces, the god of doors, thresholds, beginnings and ends. They asked, is there anyone like Janus in the Gnostic world? No one answered. I didn't know the answer either, but I hated seeing silence fall on a sincere question, so I searched, and what I found changed everything. Not just for me, but for anyone standing at a threshold, anyone caught between who they've been and who they're becoming. Abraxas is the god of time. That's what Jung said. Time, the thing that holds everything else, war and peace. Chaos and order, death and life. Time is the container, and Abraxas is the lord of the container, the god that rules gods. Janus has two faces. Abraxas has two snakes, two snake heads, two directions, and one head above, duality, and something above it, something that sees both and binds both. That's what I said. That's the answer I gave, not because I read it somewhere, but because something in me already knew it. That's how truth works. It doesn't always come from books. Sometimes it comes from silence, from stillness, from looking at an image until the image looks back. After that, I started to wonder where these answers were coming from. I didn't study, I didn't prepare. But the things I said made sense. They weren't random, they weren't shallow. They fit together, like a language I was remembering, not learning, so I tried to write it down. Not the answers, the structure beneath them. But it wouldn't come. Words failed. Sentences, twisted. It wasn't linear, it wasn't verbal. It was like trying to write down music, or explain how to walk. So, I drew it instead. I made a picture. It began with a Abraxas in the center. Everything else radiated from that point. This is that story. Not of the image, not of the God, but of the threshold. The point. Between knowing and not knowing. Between time and eternity. Between self and soul. This story is for those standing at a doorway. A place between old and new. A place that feels like falling, like floating, like being remade. You are not alone in that space, and you are not lost. You are on sacred ground, and the one who rules itis watching. Let's begin. The question was simple, almost too simple. Is there a Gnostic God, like Janus? That was it. One line, no explanation. No links, no context. But something about it stood out. It felt like the moment before a bell rings, that tension in the air, that pause before something begins. Could have ignored it, everyone else did, but something tugged at me. That question didn't just deserve an answer, it was an answer, it was the key. Janus. The Roman god of thresholds. The god of doors, the god who sees forward and backward. He stands between years, between past and future, between birth and death. He is always at the doorway. Never quite inside, never quite outside. And in that question, I saw something else, a mirror. Because I was standing at a threshold to the world. Was all of us were. It was mid-2020. The old order was cracking. Time was folding in strange ways, and everyone could feel it. We had crossed into something new, but we hadn't arrived yet, so I stared at that post, and something inside me said, answer it. I didn't know where to begin. I barely knew Janus. I wasn't a scholar, but I followed the thread. Not through books, through feeling, through memory, through a kind of inner gravity. What is Janus? A god with two faces, one that sees behind, one that sees ahead, a god of time, a god of crossing points, the keeper of gates, and who else is like that? The image came to me. Two serpents, 4 legs, each with a head, 2 directions, 2 paths, and above them, the head of a rooster, high, crowning, seeing everything 3 heads, but one being 2 below, 1 above. Duality, underneath, unity above. That's what Janus is, and that's what Abraxas is. Different forms, same essence, so I said it out loud, almost to no one. Then I typed, Abraxas is the closest match, and I explained why. That duality is not the end, that opposites are not enemies. They are the parts of a greater whole, and Abraxas is that whole. Time contains everything. It moves forward and back, and in its center, the still point stands, the god of thresholds. That's what I said. I posted it, and I thought that was the end, but it wasn't. It was the beginning. That post was a doorway, not just for the person who asked, for me, because once I said it, I had to ask, why do I know this? Where is this coming from? Why do these ideas arrive so whole, so finished, when I never studied them? And why do they feel truer than the things I have read? That question didn't get many replies, but it echoed in me. It still echoes, because sometimes, a question isn't just a question, it's an invitation. It's a threshold, and when you cross it you don't come back the same. I kept seeing that image, the one with the rooster head, the whip, the shield, the 2 serpent legs. It wasn't just a symbol, it was a presence. I could feel it watching me, Not like a person watches, like the sky watches, like the ocean watches. Deep, still endless. I didn't understand it, but I knew it understood me. It was speaking, not in words, in memory, in something older than thought. I found myself staring at the image for long stretches, not analyzing, just receiving, just listening. And I could feel this strange current of truth. Not sharp, not loud, but real. So real, it made everything else seem fake. This wasn't study. This wasn't research. This was recognition. Abraxas wasn't just a figure. He was a force, a law, a presence, a point of contact. He didn't ask for worship. He didn't demand belief. He just stood at the threshold. And something in me stepped forward. I release that this isn't just a God. This is a pattern. This is the shape of transition. Itself, two opposites. One unity above them. Two heads in conflict. One crown in peace. Two snakes. One bird, all bound in a single being. That's what makes him real, not mythology, not history, structure. He is the form of change. He is the law of movement. He is the shape that all thresholds take. And once I saw that, I saw it everywhere in the stories. In the sky, in the world, in myself. Every moment of change has that same shape. Two things pulling in opposite directions, and a third presence above them, watching, holding, balancing. That's why Abraxas matters. He doesn't demand belief, he reveals a law. The law of crossing, the law of paradox, the law of becoming. He shows you the doorway, and he stands at the middle. The God of time, the God of tension, the God of the in-between. And once you see him, you start to understand your own life. Every contradiction, every chaos, every heartbreak, they aren't mistakes, they are thresholds. Every time you are torn in two, there is something higher trying to emerge. That's the voice I kept hearing. Not in my ears, in my center, in that still place where thought fades and only presence remains. Abraxas was not telling me what to think. He was showing me how to see. He was not offering facts. He was giving me form, and every time I returned to that image, something new clicked into place. I saw what I was, a contradiction, a soul made of opposites, a being between two worlds, and that wasn't a flaw. It was the design, it was the plan, it was the shape of truth, the truth that we are not meant to be one thing. We are meant to become many things, and then hold them together, not to choose, but to contain, not to flee tension, but to become the vessel of it. And in that vessel, that's where time happens. That's where God enters. That's where new things are born. Abraxas is not a comfort. He is a clarity. He is what meets you at every turning point. Not to carry you, but to hold the door open while you disado or not to walk through. And once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. He was everywhere, in the silence before the choice, in the pull between yes and no, in the ache of letting go, in the hope of beginning again. He is not on either side. He is in the between, and in that space, that sacred, painful, beautiful space, he waits. Not to lead you, not to test you, but to witness you, to watch you become what only you can become. Because that's the law of thresholds. They are not about arriving, they are about changing. And every time you change, every time you cross, Abraxas is there. Not as a god to follow, As a symbol to remember, as a truth to stand in. And once you know thatens, you feel that you begin to see every indingus a beginning, every conflictus an opportunity, every moment of thorough is the space right before birth. And that's when you stop being afraid of the crossing. Because you know who guards the gate, and he is not there to keep you out. He is there to show you the way in. So I gave the answer not from knowledge, from knowing. I typed it simply. Abraxas is the closest thing I know to Janus, the god of thresholds. I wrote why. I told the truth, at least. The truth that came through me, 2 snakeheads for feet. Like Janus's 2 faces, each looking in a different direction. One sees what was, one sees what will be. But Abraxas has something Janus doesn't. A 3rd head, above, watching both, not just past and future, but presence, totality. Abraxas is not caught in the timeline. He holds it, he binds it, he weaves the opposites together. That's why I said it, because it made sense, not in my mind, in my soul. Janus rules the door. Abraxas is the door. Because time is not just a river, it's a pattern. And some gods are more than symbols, they are maps. Abraxas is a map of how things change, how opposites collide, and how the soul survives both. He is the law of balance. But not soft balance, not the easy kind. Abraxas holds fire and water, creation and destruction, light and dark, together, and he doesn't choose, he doesn't resolve the tension, he honors it. He is the center point, where the opposites stay opposite but do not tear the whole apart. That's what makes him divine. Not power, not beauty, but balance, and not just any balance, holy balance. Balance that includes even the things we call evil. That was hard to admit, but I knew it was true. We think gods must be clean, perfect, safe, but real divinity isn't sterile. It's vast, and sometimes terrifying, because it doesn't take sides. It contains them. That's what makes Abraxas sacred. He is the container, the place where everything belongs. Even the things we don't understand. And once I saw that, everything changed. The world made more sense, not because it was fixed, but because I saw the pattern. Opposites are not mistakes. They are structure, pain and joy, peace and chaos. They are not enemies, they are ingredients. Without both, nothing real can be made. That's what I wrote in that answer. That's what I tried to explain. Janus is the god of doors. Abraxas is the door itself. The crossing, the clash, the convergence. Not this or that, this and that, together, at once. Not peace by avoiding. War. Peace through war, not light without shadow. Light that includes shadow, because the whole is not one side. The whole is the sum. And the place above. I saw that clearly, and I said it clearly, even if no one replied, even if no one believed it. I knew, and I had to speak, because truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, and all it needs is someone willing to listen and say what they heard. That's what I did, that's all. I did. But something changed after I did. The world didn't look the same. My thoughts weren't the same. I wasn't the same. Because when you speak truth, even a strange, quiet truth, you become part of it. You carry it. You hold its shape inside. You become its vessel, and that's what I became. Not a priest, not a prophet, just a threshold, and through me, something was moving. not to dominate, not to control, but to remind. To reveal what we already know. But forget to trust that the world is made of opposites, and the divine lives where they meet. That was the answer I gave, and it is still the answer, not because it came from me, but because it came through me. Abraxas is not a belief. He is a symbol, a sign, a shape. And once you recognize that shape, you start to recognize yourself, not as one thing, but as many. Not as whole, in spite of contradiction, but whole because of it. You begin to see that your story is not broken, it's braided. Two snakes, one head above, that is you, that is all of us, and that is Abraxas. After I gave the answer, I started thinking, where did that come from? I didn't read it in a book, no one taught it to me. It just appeared whole. That bothered me. Not in a fearful way, but in a curious way. I wanted to know, not just what I had said, but why I had said it. So I looked back, I looked inside. I asked myself, what system am I using? Because there had to be one. The logic was too clear. The patterns were too strong. I wasn't contradicting myself. I wasn't making this up, at least, not with my mind. I was speaking from something deeper, something already arranged, already understood. I tried to write it out. Tried to build the structure so I could see it all at once, but it didn't work. The words kept falling apart. They came in circles, in flashes, not in lines. It was like trying to write a melody with no notes, only rhythm, only motion. I realized this thing I'm working with, it's not linear. It doesn't go A to B, it moves all at once. It folds, it breathes, it turns in on itself. It's not a path, it's a presence. So I stopped writing, and I started drawing, not art, just lines, shapes, connections. I expected something simple, a rough diagram, something childlike, but that's not what came. What came was a map, not a map of places, a map of patterns, a map of realities seen from above. It wasn't my mind drawing, it was my memory. I wasn't making something new, I was remembering something ancient, and at the center, without hesitation, I put Abraxas, because that's where he belongs. At the middle of it all, not on top, not underneath, in the crossing, where time and eternity meet. From there, everything radiates, rays of meaning, lines of light, each one a pattern, each one an archetype. Not ideas. ESSENCES, that the things behind the things. These were not thoughts, they were truths, timeless ones, and at their source was a silence, not emptiness, not absence, but fullness beyond form. That silence he thought void, that's where it all comes from. And Abraxas, he's not the silence, he's the voice that comes from it. He's the first form, the edge of the formless, the threshold between the hidden and the seen, and below that threshold world of matter, where the patterns take shape, where symbols become skin, where stories walk around in the form of people. That's where we live. But we are not cut off. We are lit by that light, even when we forget it. And in the drawing, in the system, I placed the two ends of time. The nativity on one side, the ascension on the other, birth and departure, entrance and return. Because Abraxas is the keeper of both, he stands at the door window, life, and at the doorway back out of it. He is time's beginning, and its final breath. He is not the goal, he is the path, the edge, the gate. That's why I drew him with birth on the left and ascension. On the right dot we begin, we grow, we cross, and in each crossing, Abraxas waits. Not to stop us, not to test us, to witness us, to mark the moment when eternity touches team and something new is made. This system I never published it. Not because it wasn't real, because it was too real, too alive, too strange, too hard to translate. Because it wasn't built with concepts, it was built with contact. With presence you can't explain that, not with sentences. Not with footnotes, you can only show it. Or let it show itself through you. And that's what happened. That's why it worked, because it wasn't a theory, it was an experience. It was what happened, Sean. You step beyond your own mind and touch something older than the world, and it touches you back. So I made a picture, but it wasn't just a picture. It was a key, a code, a compass, not to tell me what to believe, to remind me what I already knew, what we all already know, before the noise, before the names, before the fear. There is a truth. It's shaped like a crossing. It's held by a God isn't on any side, and that God's name is Abraxas. The image I drew it wasn't a design, it was a memory, a map of something older than time. And Abraxas sat right in the middle. Not because I put him there, because that's where he always was. Above him, light the realm of patterns. The eternal dot below him, form, dot, matter, the world, you and I. Walk through dot, and in between threshold, where idea becomes body, where silence becomes sound, where heaven bends into the shape of a person. That's Abraxas. He doesn't rule from a throne. He hovers over the water. Just like it says in Genesis, the Spirit moves over the deep before creation begins, before light is light. The threshold, he is not the creator, he is the transition. That's why I say, he is the God of time, not seconds and minutes, but sacred time. Moments of transformation, moments of revelation. He stands where two realities touch, where the invisible beaks real, and that's why he matters. Not just as a symbol, but as a cosmic role. He belongs there, at the hinge, at the fold. In the drawing, that's what I tried to show. Dot above him, eternal forms. The rays of archetype, pure meaning. They don't move, they are beneath. Him time, motion, becoming, and in the middle Abraxas, the crossing point, it fits. It fits with the stories, with the stars, with the spirit of myth, because myth is not false, it's how the deep speaks. And the deep always speaks in symbols. That's why Abraxas appears the way he does. A rooster head, two serpent legs, a whip, a shield. Not random, not decorative. Each piece is a signal, each part a message. The rooster wakes us, announces the dawn, reveals light. That's the head, the serpents crawl, guard secrets, symbolize change. That's the foundation, and the whip, that's power. The ability to act, to stir, to direct, while the shield thoughts protection, holding space, keeping order together. They form the full range of divine function, to stir and to shield, to wake and to wait, to slither and to rise. This creature, this symbol, it doesn't resolve tension, it reveals it, it makes it holy, because duality is not a flaw, it's the point, and Abraxas lives right at that point. Even the calendar reflects it. Abraxas, 7 letters. Those letters add to 365 days in a year. The full cycle, the full circle, and where does the year end? Where does it begin? At the threshold. Just like Janus stands in January, Abraxas stands at all edges. He is not bound to one. He is the edge itself, the border between seen and unseen, between now and not. Yet, that's why people saw him in dreams. Why the ancient world put him on amulet. Not to own him, to remember him, to keep close. The reminder, you are always crossing, every breath, a beginning, every thought, an end. And in that crossing there is holiness. We forget this. We think gods only live in heavens or in temples, but some gods live in movement. In becoming intention. And Abraxas is that god. He is the one who keeps opposites from destroying each other and keeps them from fusing too soon. He holds the space open so the full range of truth can be seen. Not this, not that, not this, and that together. And when that happens, that awareness comes to change. Not into something else, but into more of what we already are. We become aware of our own thresholds, our own betweeness, our own divine contradiction. And that awareness is what makes us human, and maybe something more. That's what the drawing was. For not to teach, to witness, to hold space for that truth. Because once you see it really can never forget. You begin to sense that every panis a doorway, every joy is a clue, and Abraxas stands in all of them, waiting, watching, not judging, just holding the tensions. You can become what only you can become. That's the cosmic place of Abraxas. Not high, not low, not far. Here, always here, where two things meet, and something new begins. After the drawing came the signs. Not just ideas, not just images. Signs in the real world, clues, echoes, messages from the pattern itself. I kept seeing Pisces, again and again, and I realized that this constellation looks exactly like Abraxas to fish, swimming in opposite directions, tied by a line. Two heads, moving away, but never apart, like the two snake heads on Abraxas' legs, and the line between them, that's the tension. That's the holding. It binds them, not to limit, to unify. That's when I knew Pisces is his image in the sky, not by accident, by design, because Pisces is the last sign, the end of the zodiac, the final breath before the new begins, and Abraxas is the god of endings. And beginnings. He is the closing of one age, the opening of the next. And it's not just in astrology, it's in the calendars too. Pisces rules February and March, right before the spring, and what happens then? The equinox, the new year, in ancient systems, Assyrian, Hindu, Iranian year, begins with the equinox. Not January, March. Right, at the end of Pisces. So Abraxas, like Pisces, stands at the gate of time, the gate of becoming. Even his name says so, 7 letters, 365. In total value, the week has 7 days. The year has 365. He holds both ends. He marks the whole, and January. That comes from Janus. The other gatekeeper, one face forward, one face back. So we see a pattern, a message, hidden in plain sight. Thresholds matter, and they are guarded, not to block us, but to test us, to transform us. These gods, these symbols, they are not superstition. They are archetypes, They are truths the soul already knows, and when you recognize them, you wake up not to fantasy, to pattern, to structure, to meaning. I remembered a story. Jung. He once wrote about a strange event. He was sitting in his house. It was late. Silent. Still. And suddenly, the bell rang. Furiously, but no one was there. The door moved. The air changed. He said it felt like the room was full of spirits. So many he couldn't breathe, and then he cried out. All at once, it was terrifying and sacred. That momented him to write the 7 sermons to the dead. He didn't sign it as himself. He signed it as Basilides, a Gnostic teacher, and in that book, names Abraxas. Again and again he calls Abraxas God who holds opposites, the one above good and evil. Above light and dark, he says, it is love, and love's murder, the saint and his betrayer. Not because it's cruel, but because it's whole. Abraxas does not choose sides. He is the sides. He is the center. He is not morality. He is reality. He is the force that contains both pain and healing, both birth and loss. He is not comfort. He is clarity, and in that clarity are changed. We stop asking what is right, and we start asking what is true. That's what Jung saw. That's what I saw, and it's what the world keeps showing us. In signs, in synchronicity, in moments that feel strangely alive, like someone is watching, like the world is speaking. It is the soul of the world, speaks in symbols, and one of the clearest is Abraxas, because he is the god of edges, of in-betweens, of the space right before the leap. And if you're hearing this, you might be there right now, standing at a threshold, not sure who you are, not sure what's next. That's where he is to dot, not to guide, to witness, to hold, because not every journey begins with answers. Some begin with symbols, with signs, with a ringing bell in the middle of the night. You are not imagining it. You are being called to see, to feel, to remember. And when you realize the threshold is not outside you, it is you, and Abraxas has been there all along. Jung was not alone. He was one of many, many who saw something bigger, stranger, realer than the world we're taught to trust. But Jung had a gift. He didn't just dream, he recorded the dream. He gave it language, symbols, books, and in those books, he kept returning to one idea. Opposites must be integrated, not rejected, not resolved, held. He saw what Abraxas meant. He understood the tension in his 7 sermons to the dead. He made it clear, Abraxas is not good. He is not evil. He is not love. He is not hate. He is the totality, the sum of the opposites. The God above gods. Because he contains what they cannot. He doesn't offer comfort. He offers truth. And that truth is terrifying. Because it means everything belongs. Even what we run from. Even what we call wrong. It's not a license. It's a reality. You are not made of one thing. You are not supposed to be. You are made of contrast, of contradiction, and Abraxas is the symbol of that, of the fire that purifies, not by choosing, but by holding both. Jung called this the psychic split, the tearing between good and evil, between Christ and Antichrist, between light and shadow. Anisadis is the age of Pisces. 2 fish, 2 forces, pulling, but the next age. Aquarius, That is, the age of the pouring out of integration, of reconciliation. And Abraxas points to that future, where the war ends in it, because one side wins both, because both are seen and balanced. But Jung didn't have all the answers. He laid the groundwork. But others came too. One of them was Rudolf Steiner. He's not as well known, but he saw something just as deep. He said evil is not one force, it's two. Not just darkness, but imbalance. From both directions, one is Lucifer. Light unbounded, freedom without form, imagination that breaks from truth. The other is Ahriman, darkness that controls, order without love, structure that crushes the soul, and between them Christ, the balance, the center. The one who holds both becomes neither. Sound familiar? It should, because it's the same shape, the same pattern, the same threshold. Abraxas stands in that same space. He is not Lucifer, he is not Ahriman, he is not Christ. He is the force that makes room for all three. Steiner believed this triad was essential. He said if you reduce it to two, you lose the truth. Because duality tricks us, it makes us pick sides, it makes us call one thing good and the other bad. But truth isn't in the sides, it's in the space between. That's what makes three sacred. Two poles. One center. Up and down. And the point of balance. That's where creation happens. That's where the soul grows, and that's where Abraxas waits. Steiner warned, if you call Christ one side of a duality, you remove his meaning. He becomes a weapon, a concept, not a living center. And if you do that, you fall out of alignment with the cosmos, with yourself. Because truth needs three. Look anywhere: body, soul, spirit, past, present, future. Father, Son, Spirit, three. Not one, not two. Three. Even numbers reflect this. 369. The sacred circuit. Tesla once said, understand these numbers, and you understand the universe. Why? Because they show balance. Resursion. Infinity. And what is Abraxas if not that? A symbol that never ends because it never resolves. He holds. He contains. So when Jung sees the conflict of the age and Steiner sees the war of spirits, both are seeing Abraxas, not by name, but by shape. Because you don't have to say his Nemito, see his work. Every threshold, every conflict, every time a person breaks and becomes more whole than they were before, is that not to stop it, to witness it, to remind us, this is not chaos, this is creation. The dark night, the deep wound, the sharp turn, that's not failure, that's the edge of something sacred, and Abraxas is the edge. He is what you meet one, your life becomes something else. Something you didn't plan, something you didn't ask for, but something true. That's what these visionaries saw. Not a religion, not a rule, a rhythm. And once you see it, too, you start to realize, you're not here to win the war. You're here to hold the middle. To balance. To bear. To become. And that becoming that. Space between opposites. Holy Abraxas is not the enemy. He is not the savior. He is the process, and the process is sacred. The cosmos isn't built on duality, it's built on triads, not to forces fighting. Three forces forming. That's the real structure. The one behind all things. Two poles. One center, left, right, balance. Birth, death, life, yes, no. The question. It's always three. This is the secret hidden in plain sight. Duality blinds us, it makes us choose. It tells us one side is right, the other is wrong. But truth lives in the third thing, the unspoken, the space between. That's where Abraxas exists. He's not the pole, he's the pattern, he's not the answer, he's the frame the answers fit in. That's why he's hard to define. Why people get uncomfortable. Because he refuses to be simple. He refuses to be either. He is always both, and more. Think of fire. It burns, it warms, it destroys, it gives life. Which one is it? It depends on how it's used, on who holds it, on when it appears. That's Abraxas, not an object, a force, a frame, and like all sacred frames it appears in threes. Jung said the Christian psyche split in two. Christ and Antichrist at war inside the soul, but Steiner said there's a third. The balance. Lucifer on one side, Ahriman on the other, Christ in the middle. One tries to free us to fast, the other tries to bind us too tight, but the center third is where freedom becomes wisdom, where limits become love. Abraxas fits that structure. He is not one of the poles, he is the force that holds them apatand together, like a spine, like a root. And this isn't just spiritual theory, it's everywhere. Look at nature, look at time, past, present, future. 3. Look at the body, brain, heart, gut. 3. Even at the atomic level. Proton, electron, neutron. 3. Matter itself is triadic. Life itself is balanced in threes, so why do we keep trying to live in twos? In either or, in good versus evil? Because it's easier, cleaner, but it's not real. Truth isn't clean, it's alive, it breathes, it stretches, it holds tension, and that's what 3 does. One pushes, one pulls, one holds. That's the cosmic order, and Abraxas is the symbol of that order. He is not nice, he is not safe, he is true, and truth isn't always comfortable. But it is freeing, because once you see the third, you realize you don't have to choose a side. You can stand in the middle, you can be the vessel, you can carry the tension, and become something whole. That's what the cross means. Not just suffering, but structure. 2 beams. One center. That center is sacred, because it unites heaven and earth, spirit and body, and the one who hangs. Theranos. What Abraxas knows. You must contain both to be complete. 3 years of ministry. Risen on the 3rd day. Crucified between 2 thieves. 3 again and again. The number returns, because it's not a number, it's a pattern. And patterns don't lie. Abraxas isn't mentioned in scripture, but his shape is. His logic is, because he's not just a being, he's a principle, a law, written into the bones of existence, and once you see it everywhere. In art, in myth, in math, even in numbers. Take any number, multiply by 3. Then reduce the digits until you have one number. It will always be 3, 6, or 9. Try it. 3 times 2 equals 63 times 3 equals 93 times 4 equals 12, gives 1 plus 2 equals 33 times 5 equals 15, gives 1 5 equals 63 times 6 equals 18, gives 1 plus 8 equals 9, over and over 3, 6, 9. It doesn't stop, it doesn't break, it's a rhythm, and rhythms are truth you can feel in your bones. So what does this mean? Why does it matter? Because you are not chaos. You are not mistake. You are not accident. You are a structure. You are a soul, intention. You are a bridge, and that's divine. Not because it's perfect, because it's complete. And completeness takes three. So when life pulls you up the trember, you are not being torn, you are being made. You are not falling, you are crossing. And at the crossing at the Centaurus is not to save, not to punish, to witness, to remind you, this tension is holy. This middle place is sacred, and this story is not over. It is just beginning. The universe is written in numbers. Not just math, not just calculation, meaning, numbers speak, not in words. In rhythm. In truth, that returns again and again. And some numbers sappier more than others. 3.6.9. Always. Them. Why? Because they don't belong to quantity, they belong to structure. They're not how many, they're how real. Tesla once said, if you knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, you would have the key to the universe. He wasn't exaggerating. He was pointing to the pattern behind the pattern. Abraxas is in that pattern. He doesn't have a throne, he has a shape too. Below. 1, above. Opposition, beneath, unity above. That's 3, and 3 repeats. Circles have 360 degrees. 3 plus 6 plus 0 equals 9. Half of that is 180.1 plus 8 plus 0 equals 9. Half, again, is 90.9 plus 0 equals 9. Divide, again, 45 degrees. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Keep going. 22.5 gives 2 plus 2 plus 5 equals the 11th of September. 25 gives 1 to 5 equals 9. It doesn't stop, because circles aren't just shapes, they are cycles. Wholeness. Infinity. And their codice, written in 9. The full cycle, the closed loop. Abraxas lives there, not on the edge. At the axis, the center of the wheel, the still point where movement begins and ends. So when I saw the numbers, I didn't just see digits. I saw a voice, a message. 3 is the seed, 6 is the growth, 9 is the completion. Not as steps, as forces, as pulses in the heart of the cosmos. And if you live by them, you start to feel how aligned life becomes. You stop rushing, you stop forcing, you start trusting the cycle. The sacred circuit. Beginning. Becoming. Balance. That single quotes as what Abraxas holds. Because he reminds you, there is a code, there is a code, there is an order, even in the chaos. Especially, in the chaos, you are not lost. You are cycling, you are moving through the pattern. And that pattern is sacred. Even suffering fits. Even failure belongs. Because everything feeds. The code. All opposites fuel the whole. So when things fall apart, Abraxas appears. Not to fix it, to show you this breakingness, also birthing. This chaosis, not the end. It's the turn. The wheel, and the center of the wheelless. Still. So, stand there at the center, not outside the storm, within it, but in stillness. You are not here to escape, you are here to align, to become the place where the code completes itself. And when you do, when you see it, you begin to live differently. You stop running from paradox. You stop hiding from pain. You start to see that all of itis, part of the song, and you are not outside it. You are a note, a beat, a pulse, in the breath of God. So when you feel like giving up, Remember the numbers 3, 6 and 9. Start with 1. Multiply. Reduce. The digits. See what returns. It always comes back. That's how you know it's real. It returns. And so will you. Because your story is not a line, it's a circle. A spiral. Moving forward, be returning gain, and again to your center. And at that center Braxis, still. Silent. Holding. Not a God of answers. A God of process. Not a God of peace. A God of patterns. And through those patterns, you become so honor the code. Honor the tension. Honor the part of you that holds both light and shadow, because that part is divine and Braxis it. He has albacine it, so here we are at the end, or maybe just another beginning, because endings aren't final, they are folds. Thresholds. Openings wearing the mask of closure. That's the first thing Abraxas taught me. Nothing truly ends, it changes form. Even death is a door. That door doesn't close, it turns, and in the turning something, ancient moves. Abraxas is not a God of answers. He is a God of passage. The passage between who you were and who you must become. The passage between belief and knowing. Between old self and new spirit. If you've heard this far, if something in you kept listening, then you are already crossing. You are already standing at the threshold. And maybe now you understand the image called to you, why the name stayed in your head, why the symbol felt alive, because it was not literally, not physically, but spiritually. RARCHETYPICALLY. The soul recognizes pattern, even when the mind protests, even when the culture distracts, and Abraxas is a deep pattern, a very old rhythm, a law carved into time itself. Wherever opposites pull, wherever tension sharpens, wherever something sacredous about to be born is there, not as a being to worship, as a presence to remember, as a symbol that explains what words can't. You are not here to be one thing, you are here to hold many. You are not here to escape pain, you are here to integrate it, to listen to what it teaches, to honor what it breaks open, because that breaking is part of the making. All thresholds are painful. All thresholds require loss, but they also offer something back. Truth, clarity, wholeness, the kind that doesn't deny your shadow, the kind that embraces it. That's what wholeness really means. Not to be pure, to be full, to contain both, to walk with both, to love both, to love both. And Abraxas shows us how. Look again at his image. Not with fear, with reverence, up rooster head clarity, to snake legs duality, one being balance, shield and whip, restraint and action. Not either or, both. That's the real sacred. Not safety. Truth, not comfort. Integration. You can feel this, can't you? This strange peace in the center of chaos, that's the threshold. And you're in it, and that's why you're not alone. Because every soul that crosses walks with others. Invisible maybe, but real. We are all threshold beings. Born in transition, living in tension, and in that shared space, you meet. Not just with each other, with what is greater than us. With the source, with the pattern. With the God who waits in silence. Not to judge. To reflect. To hold a moroto, what you already are. That's the final truth. Abraxas doesn't give you anything new. He helps you remember what has always been inside you. The wisdom you buried, the strength you doubted, the unity you feared to claim. It's already there, in your bones, in your breath. You are the threshold. You are the pattern. You are the point where time and eternity meet. And every time you honor that you step into your own divine shape, you become the crossing, not between places, between realities, between forgetting and awakening, between becoming and being. So let this be your reminder. You don't have to be one thing. You don't have to have it all figured out. You only have to stand at your own edge with your whole self and walk forward with reverence. Because the moment you do, the moment you stop running and start remembering, Abraxas appears. Not to save you, not to speak, just to witness, to say, yes, you are on the path. Yes, this is what it feels like. And yes, you were made for this.